I've been more or less asked to explain BookScan. And for a writer and a reader, it's a pretty surreal thing. BookScan is a service of Nielsen, the television rating outfit. In fact, it's called Nielsens BookScan or something like that. For a hefty fee, publishers subscribe to this service, which, with a few flicks of computer keys, will tell them what the last book, or the last 10 books, or whatever, of any writer in the United States sold, down to the single copy. So publishers can get this information, and they pay a lot of money for it. So they know what the last book sold. The kicker is, sold to the bookstore chains, Borders, and Barnes & Nobles, which together control about 40% of the retail book market. And they order the next printing of the person's next book on what they call order to net. They will order what they sold of the last one, perhaps minus 10%, unless there's some extraordinary thing that happens and it's a sui generis publication of the next novel. So the publishers can look at the BookScan figures and know what the chains are going to buy. So you have a publishing not by taste or by editorial instinct, not by chance taking, not by courage, but by number crunching, A, on the part of BookScan and the publishers, and B, on the part of the book chains, which basically control the retail market. So what this means is that novels tend to be published strictly by the numbers. When a novel is presented to a publisher, they look up the BookScan figures, and from that, they can tell whether the chains which control the retail end of the market are going to buy the book at all, order the book at all, and if they are, how many copies they're going to order. If the chains aren't going to order a book, the book doesn't get published. If what the chains are going to order is too low, the book doesn't get published. The only exception is if there's something extraordinary or unique about the novel in question. Sometimes they will take a chance and they will win. The crazy and ironic thing about this process is that Hollywood, which is denigrated by the literary establishment as being Philistine, doesn't work on this process at all. They know that half the movies they make are going to be flops that are going to lose them scores of millions of dollars, and the other half are going to be successes which make them scores of millions of dollars, or in some cases even $1 billion. The thing of it is, they don't know which is going to be which. But the wisdom of it is, unlike the publishers, is that they know that they don't know. So they make the movies. And they count on the successes to make up for the flops. And they do very well doing this. So strangely enough, even though they are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in film, versus a book publisher which is maybe investing $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 at most into a novel, they have more creative courage than the so-called literary establishment, which looks at them as Philistines. Not that they can't be Philistines from time to time, but this to me is a great and even amusing irony if it weren't so ridiculous. But what this means for novelists is that one book that doesn't sell well can adversely affect your career forever afterwards. And a publisher who really wants to screw you, one publisher can effectively blackball you by screwing up one book. You're finished. Or unless something serendipitous happens, or unless you think outside this box, which is what I'm trying to do now. And if you want to learn more about how this sort of thing works with a concrete example, I'm going to put up here a direct link to my second half of autobiography commissioned by Gale Press on my website, where you can read about how this sort of thing happened to me and why. But it seems to me that YouTube can potentially change this ball game to make it a little even for the writer and for the readers. Because YouTube, what I'm trying here now, when people ask me what they can do, and I said, well, just log onto Osama the Gun, the novel, and rack up hits, is, for the first time, the writers, especially speculative fiction writers, futurists like myself, can potentially come up with a kind of anti-BookScan in which the potential readers, people who want to read the book, can show numbers that predict the future of the book on the basis of the present hard data, rather than on what happened to the last book as predicted and shown to the publishers by BookScan. Well, who knows? If this works for one novel, it can work as a service for a lot of novels and liberate American fiction from what is essentially this foolish and counterproductive tyranny of the numbers.